I'm impressed by the compassion shown by the members of this organization, and I've had an opportunity to meet a number of you on a unofficial basis over the course of the last several years. Not-for-profit housing provides crucial assistance to a broad sector of our province. These include low-income families with children, senior citizens, victims of violence, persons with developmental disabilities, those suffering from mental illness, and those who struggle with homelessness. And I want to thank our friends from Kingston, East Ontario, and Frontenac County for the work they're doing. And I know John Garrettson, my predecessor, and your member of Provincial Parliament, are deeply impressed, and I know will be very proud of the award that you've been given today. I want to thank all of you in this room, first of all, for your commitment to the sector, but also for taking time from your schedule. You're all busy people. Some of you are staff, some of you are volunteers on boards and so on. And I want to thank you for your commitment, your passion, and your dedication to this important cause. In her letter of invitation, your President, Deborah, expressed her hope that as our government enters its second term, ONPHA will be able to continue its productive partnership with my ministry. I am, in fact, very committed to continue to work the partnership with ONPHA to improve affordable housing across Ontario. And I must admit that I'm impressed by the sheer scale of your efforts. ONPHA includes 772 nonprofit corporations, and you're operating more than 150,000 nonprofit units across the province of Ontario. And you're benefiting, more importantly than those numbers, you're benefiting 400,000 of our fellow citizens. It's clear to me you are making a significant difference in the lives of a great number of people in the province and making a very positive contribution to our province. Housing is fundamental to the strength of Ontario. Every Ontario family should have a safe, healthy, affordable place to call home, and I see a large part of my job as turning those words into actions. Based on my initial briefings during these first 2 weeks, I think we're off to a good start. My predecessor, many of you know obviously and know the work that John Garrettson did make some excellent progress. Starting from scratch, he implemented an affordable housing strategy that is making a real difference in the lives of working families and vulnerable households in Ontario. The Affordable Housing Program, launched in 2005, is the single biggest affordable housing program in Canadian history. It involves an investment of $750 million, and it will provide affordable housing for 20,000 low-income households, victims of domestic violence, and people with mental illness. And I know that the not-for-profit and co-op sectors have been very, very active and helpful partners in the affordable housing program, building 65% of all of those programs to date. In my hometown of Ottawa, nonprofits are using the affordable housing program to develop 9 projects, providing more than 575 new units. These include non-profit projects sponsored by Ottawa Community Housing, the John Howard Society, and Nepean Housing Corporation. And I know Nepean Housing is here as well, and I have a very good working relationship with Lynn and Vic and all of the folks with Nepean Housing. The biggest project of all, a 195-unit project by Centretown Citizens Ottawa Corporation, is currently at the planning stage. All in all, nonprofits have made an outstanding effort under the program, and I congratulate you for it. I'm also glad to see that the Ministry has worked with you through the Help for Homes initiative to increase the capacity of the nonprofit and cooperative sectors to deliver affordable housing through new and innovative partnerships. One of the successful partnerships has been established with ONPHA and the Co-op Housing Federation to deliver resources to strengthen your participation in the affordable housing program and to combat the continuing and regrettable challenge opposed by NIMBYism. The Ontario Mortgage and Housing Initiative is also helping to provide nonprofits and other developers of affordable housing with access to stable, long-term, low-cost financing. The end result will save AHP programs more than $35 million in interest costs over the course of the program. Under the Strong Communities Rent Supplement Program, we've provided Ontario municipalities with a long-term funding commitment of $50 million per year for 20 years, $1 billion in total for rent supplements across the province. Currently, the program provides rent supplements for more than 6,600 units. I'm pleased to see this includes more than 1,300 supportive units for some of the most vulnerable amongst us, victims of domestic violence, persons with mental illnesses, those with developmental disabilities, and long-term care client groups. And we didn't stop there. In our budget this year, we announced the investment of an additional $392 million to create new affordable housing opportunity for those in needs. This funding is divided among 3 new housing programs. We provided the municipalities with $127 million to create or rehabilitate rental housing for low-income households through the Delivering Opportunities for Ontario Renters Initiative, known as DOOR. And we've invested $185 million to create ROOF, the Rental Opportunity for Ontario Families Housing Allowance Program, which will assist more than 27,000 low-income working families struggling with housing affordability. They will receive $100 every month to assist them in paying their rent starting in January. As well, we're allocating $80 million in housing initiatives to benefit off-reserve Aboriginal households. We're now beginning a consultation with Aboriginal groups to determine the most effective way to distribute that funding. I'm also pleased to see we've moved to ensure vulnerable people do not lose the housing they already have. The Ontario Rent Bank is, in my opinion, a very solid concept, and it has prevented more than 10,000 evictions to date. That's 10,000 households that would be on the street or in shelters and are not. And the new Residential Tenancy Act is also helping. It improves the rights and protections for tenants in Ontario and restores balance to the system. The new Act ties the annual rent increase guideline to the Consumer Price Index. In 2008, for instance, tenants will benefit from the lowest rent increase guideline in history at 1.4%. Not least of all, we've ensured that municipalities with low vacancy rates have the right to protect existing rental housing from unreasonable demolition or conversion to condominium. Here in Toronto, the new City of Toronto Act gives Toronto full authority to prohibit or regulate the demolition or conversion of residential rental properties, providing further protection to tenants in this city. These are all positive step forwards, but as you know, and as I certainly know, we can do more, we must do more, and we will do more. 10 days ago, the City of Toronto launched a consultation it called Housing Opportunities Toronto. I very much look forward to reading the report. I've had an opportunity to discuss the issue with Mayor Miller on 2 occasions. Look forward to meeting Derek Ballantyne and many others from the Toronto community to see how we can help as they proceed with this new strategy. And Toronto is seeking a new framework for affordable housing, and I know this is a concern shared by ONPHA. I agree that we must preserve Ontario's existing stock of social housing, 250,000 units, much of which requires repair and renovation. And we require a long-term financial strategy to achieve that end. There's no doubt that one of my most important meetings as I begin my term as minister will be with my federal counterpart, Monty Solberg. We must have the federal government on board. We must have a sustainable long-term approach to housing, not just here in Ontario, but nationally as well. Canada needs a national housing framework. It's essential if we're going to move forward in a meaningful and thoughtful way. And it's certainly essential financially. We need to take a good hard look at the Canada-Ontario Social Housing Agreement. Currently, the federal government is providing about $500 million in funding for housing programs in Ontario. But that funding declines with each passing year, and it ends completely in 25 years. When it does, Ottawa, the federal government, will have saved an extra $6.5 billion from Ontario. Those funds need to be invested to preserve our stock of social housing, and I hope that Minister Solberg will recognize this fact. A few weeks ago, I saw an article in a newspaper that showed that in Peel region, for instance, there was a 21-year waiting list for social housing. When you look at the condition of many of the units in my own hometown of Ottawa or in communities right across the province, they are dilapidated and, quite frankly, a national disgrace that some of our fellow citizens are living in these conditions. And that is why I need you, I need ONPHA, I need your own political powers of persuasion to work with federal members of parliament, regardless of political stripe, to ensure that this becomes an issue at the national level. We cannot allow the federal government to play constitutional games and simply shrug and say they have no role or responsibility when it comes to housing. They have a role, you know that, I know that, and we have to get them to understand that they have to be at the table, not just with goodwill and with ribbon-cutting scissors to go in the back of the previous government that put this money in, quite frankly. They need to be there in a significant way with significant dollars to help with these waiting lists and to help with the dilapidated stock of housing, in many instances, coming to the end of its life cycle. So I need your help and I need your guidance and wisdom as we move forward. It was by the poet Henrik Ibsen who over 100 years ago wrote, "A community is like a ship. Everyone ought to be prepared to take the helm." Thank you for taking the helm and making our community a better place to live in. Merci beaucoup.